Welcome back, story lovers. Thank you again for your continued support. Please consider liking and subscribing, as it makes a huge difference, and feel free to leave a comment. Chapter 18. Dripping wet and standing in the doorway in the limited light, Lucas looked over to where Tem was perched on an easy chair, rolling a cigarette. Suppressed rage caused his fingers to twitch, making his task difficult. "You go on a small errand and come back a week later," he moaned. "You're unpredictable and unreliable." Without raising his head, he waved his arm, gesturing to Lucas to enter and sit down. Hesitantly, Lucas took an adjacent chair and sat stiffly in the chilly atmosphere. In the silence, Lucas scanned the room. The place was bare of all ornaments, vases, paintings, the clock, and the cabinet drawer was open, and all the silver cutlery was gone. "I've had to do everything myself." "All the deliveries were made at great personal risk. I don't suppose you want to tell me where you've been?" Without waiting for a reply, he continued, "While you and I are cheating death, my people out there on the dump are succumbing to the virus, and while the rest of the world is distracted, the stomping boots of the secret police are accelerating their murderous spree." Having finished rolling his cigarette, he lifted his head and shot Lucas a look of sharp hostility. "So you also view me at the bottom of the hierarchy, even though I'm fast becoming a rich man?" "Money is no buffer against the truth," Lucas replied. "I heard what they've been doing, blowing up the dump, and that's mostly why I'm here. My brother has been ill, and by some strange coincidence, I traced him to that girl's house, the one who was here, after your blood." "I'm sorry to hear that. I should have known there was a good reason," Tem said, his expression transforming into stunned silence. "He'll be fine, and is recuperating now," Lucas said. They smiled at one another, and the atmosphere relaxed. Lucas went on to relay the story of his attack in the woods and the encounter in the graveyard. "I was seriously ill before the monster bit and scratched me, but then I was miraculously cured." Talking to Marnie and Conran was enlightening. "I discovered we'd all had an encounter with the mutant Marnie calls Shays." She explained that she and a Professor Edwards are writing a paper on a potential cure, which will be peer-reviewed by the government. "I've already promised to give her my blood, and that's why she wants yours. The monster has some kind of healing ability." "So she sent you here to beg for my plasma?" Tem added, with an uneasy expression casting over his face. He stroked his whiskers in contemplation. "Well, each note combined makes a harmonious tune when used correctly, but no, that's not why I'm here," he said, in a serious tone. "Marnie explained to me how the virus had magnified the horrors at your camp, and then the idea just came to me." Tim shared a veiled expression with Lucas, as though he still doubted his integrity, but he allowed the youth to explain his plan. "This Shays creature, when he wounds anyone, they develop an immunity. The government, once they read Marnie's research on how to cure the disease, will want those with protection to come forward. In those circumstances, the ones with the right blood will have a bargaining tool. What if we were to capture Shays and persuade him to pass on his antidote to all those living on the dump?" "We'll need to find a big net." Tem laughed with relief. "And it wouldn't be that easy. I don't know how it all works, but one being doesn't have that much blood. Marnie and this professor know. If we can find Shays, we might be able to convince him. He's an outsider too, and I think I know where he lurks." "Actually, that's not a bad idea," Tem said, smiling broadly. In excited animation, he jumped to his feet, picked his knife up from the mantelpiece and headed for the door. They wouldn't need to take his blood. He could just sink his teeth into the flesh of the sick. "Let's go, man." In the dense darkness of night, Tem moved swiftly across the field towards the village, while Lucas followed his silhouette a few steps behind. During the day, without human interference, the land teemed with life, but under the deluge, everything had fallen into squelching silence. Lucas pulled his ragged long coat tight around his body and, wishing for more light, glanced up at the moon melting into a smudge of rain cloud, depriving them of any definition. He shivered within as he imagined the white-fleshed figure scuttling on all fours just out of sight. He would be no match for the Angel of Death with his hideous strength, and would be unable to fend him off in a fight. While Tem raced forward without concern, Lucas remained hyper-vigilant, peering into every shadow, expecting to see amber eyes shining in the occasional spike of brightness. He saw nothing of interest, and soon They arrived at the small group of houses and winding roads lined with the odd streetlight. Lucas tried to catch up with the dark shape of his friend as the man on a mission charged up the hill towards the church. At the top, breathing hard, they stood on the edge of a pool of light coming from a house next to the graveyard, precariously hanging on like two trees on a cliff waiting to fall. "Where did you see him?" Tem whispered low. "Around the back of the church," Lucas replied, and glancing down, saw a luminous thread of frothing spit. "We should follow that trail," he added, nodding towards the ground. It wove between the trees, a twisted, shadowed avenue. "Shays likes to keep hidden," Tem said, as if he had an intimate relationship with their quarry. They heard water gushing as the gutters on the church overflowed, and they saw a comforting dull glow from a lamp over the porch door, but it disappeared as they turned the corner. The line of light formed a maze around every stone, leading them nowhere. "The disturbed soil has been restored." "There's no sign of him digging here," Lucas muttered. His nerves stretched as he desperately peered into the darkness, trying to find a corrupted grave. "I think this is it. Where I last saw him," he finally announced. "The stone is new, smooth without any lichen." The rain poured down remorselessly, but he was able to see that the wound in the ground had healed. He seems to prefer fresh bodies. "It's Shays we want, not the dead," Tem said, brandishing his knife as he tried to appear outwardly calm. "I'm sure if we hide, he will return," Lucas added, defeated. "I think he's already had all the corpses here and has probably moved on. It was a good plan, but it looks like we've drawn a blank." Drenched and with their vision blurred by the veil of rain, both men were ready to turn their backs on the night and head home when Lucas, leaning on the stone and pondering the fresh mound, noticed something peculiar. The mud was bubbling and spewing upwards like molten lava. They heard a gurgling and piteous whining coming from the dark bushes on the periphery, and then the earth coughed up a balloon-shaped mucus lump. In one movement, Tem reached out, scooped up the object, and rushed back to the porch. Lucas ran after him, and standing under the shelter, in the soft, hazy light, saw a familiar grin fixed back onto Tem's face. "Can you see it?" Tem said as they smiled at each other. Lucas nodded. "A tiny baby with wings. We can take this back to the house and use it to entice Shays." Thank you, story lovers, for listening and for your continued support. You may find all of my books on all your favourite online stores, Amazon and Audible under EMG Wixley, or follow the links provided. Please remember to like and subscribe, as it means I can continue producing content. To be continued.